Hey everyone, it's Abby Glassenberg from Craft Industry Alliance. We are an organization for craft and creative business owners, and we come to you live every Wednesday around this time for our member spotlight interview. So this is an opportunity to drop in on one of our members' studios to learn about their creative business journey, to see some samples of their work, and just generally kind of get inspired by one of our amazing members. If you don't know anything about Craft Industry Alliance, I would invite you to come check out our site at craftindustryalliance.org. But we offer three main things. One is education. So we have monthly webinars and online courses to help you learn all kinds of different business skills. Our most recent one was all about TikTok, if you're curious about TikTok. We also offer news coverage. So we have lots of writers that we pay, including a staff writer who's on our staff, as well as lots of freelance writers who cover the industry. And so we write about everything that's happening from mergers, acquisitions, trends, profiles, all kinds of things. So if you're interested in keeping up with craft industry news, you can find that on the news tab on our website. And you can also subscribe to our newsletter, which goes out on Wednesday mornings. So you can kind of keep up with what's going on in the industry. So that's the second thing we offer, education and then news. And the last piece is networking. So we have a monthly roundtable meeting where our members get together to chat, and we also have a Facebook group. So I see our guest who's joined us here, Koigu, and Taiu is going to be with us. Let me see if I can. Taiu, please request to join. I would love to bring you on. So yeah, we're going to be talking to Taiu from Koigu Yarn. If you don't know anything about her yarn company, it's pretty cool. It's multi-generational. It's based in Canada. And we're going to learn kind of about the evolution of Koigu and how that business kind of changed over time to serve their customers best. So I'm brought Taiu on, so hopefully we will see her pop up in just a second. Let me see. Yep. Hey.
Hey.
How are you?
Good.
Good. Is this your first time doing one of these, or you do these all the time?
Actually, well, I've done more Zooms. I think this is about the third time. The
Okay.
other time my daughter was with me, so she's not around right now. So I was like, oh yeah, I know there's a request and I know this.
I know. It's always like, where are all the buttons located? How do I do this again? So I'm glad that it worked out. So welcome to our member spotlight. I'm very excited to have you, and I see your beautiful yarn behind you. And if you could just tell us a little bit about your business and kind of how it's evolved over time, I think that would be great.
Yeah, sure. Well, as of next year, Koigu Wool Designs as we know it today, we're celebrating 30 years, which is kind of exciting. Prior to that, actually, the journey all started really prior to that. We started raising sheep, or my mom started raising sheep, and I was still in school. And so she was exploring different breeds of sheep, different wools. She was spinning, weaving, literally, even try tanning the hides, literally everything. And so as things evolved, my mom's a graduate of Ontario College of Art. So we have a lot of, and also that my grandmother, everything in our house was handmade. My mom would make, my grandmother would make, kind of goes back to sort of her ancestry. She from Estonia, and she also went to she wasn't married at a certain age, so she was sent to a school that basically young girls would be sent to if they weren't married by a certain age, and would be taught weaving, cooking, it's sort of like a home economics, what we would have experienced here in North America. But it was more intense. And then they were sent out to teach the sort of backward ends of the country to how to set a table properly, and had to make sure you always had a tablecloth on the table, and etiquette, right? So anyway, so that's my, my upbringing. So then with my mom's designs, I graduated from Ontario, from Guelph University in agriculture because of the sheep background. And I felt, well, Mom, you've got this amazing artistic talent, and let's, make use of it, and let's make it into a business. So we started um, in various different ways of getting our yarn spun into wool. And it was about 30 years ago when we came upon our KPPM, the merino that most people know us today. And at the time, um, we, at the time, if anyone remembers way back in the 90s, there's a lot of thick yarn on the market. And we were through a very thick stage, but we were kind of entering, for me, it was the first sock wave. So everyone was absolutely crazy because you could knit socks from our yarn. It was a nice 3 millimeter. If anyone was making anything bigger, they'd actually double up our yarn. But it was the variegated, the amount of colors we had, they got very excited. So we started hand dyeing this, very thin merino, and got excited about what it was, the colors were happening. We were more all about the excitement of the creating of it. And then we would go to shows, and it was about 1996 we went to our first stitches. So to note, we're from Canada, so that was a big challenge, big business challenge to cross the border in those, well, anytime. Because if you haven't done it, it's and we've also experienced all the changes since. So at Stitches, this yarn got sold out, this sort of thin yarn, and we were like, oh, okay, so we're going to go to another show. So we kind of, well, if that's sold out, then the wool from our sheep started kind of moving out, and we started. And we realized we needed to go directly to the mill that we were supplying. So that was a big thing. And of course, in those days, you didn't have someone that was supplying anything for indie dyers. Hanks. Our hanks were massive industrial hanks. So we learned how to dye yarn in a kilogram, and we rewind it. So all our yarn is dyed in a kilogram. Actually, at the time, it was 2 pounds, and we'd get 18 skeins of 50 grams, and we would argue, like, can you get it a kilogram? So we want 20 skeins, but interesting. So, a lot of lessons learned at the time. And it was also, we couldn't just buy 100 pounds of it or 100 kilos of it. We were buying, 1,000 kilos. And you needed that commitment. So for a very long time, we were just known as the hand dyer that had one yarn, because it was what sold. It is what went. As we progressed, we did more and more shows, the knitting shows. Sort of to back up a bit, prior to that, we were doing craft shows that were with ready-made garments as well as yarn kits. So we actually had a bunch of knitters locally that knit for us. And so we would actually have a whole bunch of sweaters that we would also sell at these. So it was a big change in the business to go strictly yarn. We were also strictly retail at the time. And it was about 1999, we did our first TNNA, first wholesale show. And we came back, and we had opened 60 new accounts. But we were still doing this out of our old farm kitchen and drying the yarn outside and in our old bathtub, and totally destroyed that house. And I just said to my mom, we have the money here, let's build. And we started building. Kind of didn't really at that point look back. There was and that we made the decision of strictly going wholesale at that point. Um, as things have changed, it's an interesting thing is that a lot of our popularity came from actually selling retail. So it was us connecting with the retail business. And it was this sort of almost like a bubble of so many years that we were only doing wholesale or communicating only with stores. And there was a time where I felt, probably about 10 years ago, that no, we need to start connecting, listening, seeing what people wanted, going back. So kind of realizing that you can, make the same, you can only go so far about beating the drum in the same direction without actually re-educating yourself and educating your public, right? So, and so now, we do a bit of retail, and it is primarily wholesale. So we do, if there's a product we know our stores have, we definitely direct people to the store, the LYSs.
Nice.
Um,
That's
so
so interesting to hear the evolution of how this business has really changed, and with you as a big part of it, along with your mom. And I feel like, is it your daughter that is also
yeah,
in
so my
business?
daughter, my daughter has joined us. She might leave us for a while and then join us again because I do encourage her to get a job elsewhere, but she will still be an intricate part. She's graduating her master's so in business, so she's been doing a lot of our Instagram, a lot of our influencers, social marketing, um, pretty well, very much sort of streamlining that, and which has been a great help, because it's like a two generational, also seeing another generation and seeing the new generation coming in. And it's kind of interesting when you get the like my mom's now
Yeah,
80s,
right.
and I'm in the middle. And then, so we don't, put it this way, they're two Leos and I'm a Cancer, so we still have, I'm still the one that sort of has to level everyone off. But it's interesting listening to all the ideas, and the big thing is you have to be open. You have to be
Yeah,
open to hearing something, or what's new, TikTok, or
yeah,
something that maybe it's not on my radar, but it was on my daughter's radar. Or my mom's very adamant about having, a total outfit, keeping it classic, you know, and you still have to listen to those things because at the same time she'd say, no, 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 that yarn will not work in that kind of stitch, it's just the basis of her background. Or, I still have her, sit down and pick, okay, what's wrong with all these colors? And the two of us are changing around, and then between our two heads, we figured that color combination works the best. So we
right.
still like work very much well together in that. Interesting is my daughter growing up with all this color like behind me. She goes to basically grays, blacks, beiges. Her gravitation is very basic colors. Someone said, "Why are you making a white sweater?" It's cashmere and wool, one of our yarns, and she is like, it's completely natural white. And they're like, why didn't you pick a color? She said, "Do you know me? I've lived color."
Right.
And it's interesting just on the basis of color how someone can, embrace it and someone reject it, right? And
Yeah, that's totally interesting. And I love what you said about the value of the older and the younger generation and their contributions to the way Koigu is run now. So I think that's great. That's really inspirational. And I'm sure there are people out there who sort of wish that they had had multi generations as part of their business, because I think that's really valuable. So, and I know for Craft Industry Alliance, you're going to be doing a webinar where it's like a panel discussion with
yep.
us coming up in January, and I'm really excited about it. And it's going to focus on trade shows. And you mentioned that first trade show, the first experience of going to TNNA and coming home with a huge flood of orders, and that really transforming, it sounds like, going from really being a retail focused business to being a wholesale focused business at that point. So I wondered if you could talk a little bit about maybe give us a little preview about what you think is important about creating that trade show booth and exhibiting at trade shows in general.
Well, actually, it was interesting. We had some really great advice. Like, I don't know if at the time we took it as advice. I'm saying it's advice now, and I've given it to some other people because coming from Canada, from another, I mean, it is North America, but still our economy is so different than the United States. And a lady, she's now passed away, but she used to be the distributor for Colonette in the United States. And she said, if you're going to do the trade show, you need to be prepared to sell to 300 yarn stores.
Okay.
And that actually, like, really, you have to be prepared to know that you can do that production. And that was huge. That was a huge statement at the time. Kind of stayed in the back of our mind, but then we were like, you know what, we're still going to jump into it. And then when I think about it since, I mean, we experienced all sorts of, the backlogs, potentially, problem with all sorts of, delays and stuff. But doing the trade show, it's a different experience than doing a retail show. You're also you need to realize your margins. So when you're setting your price, there's all, the preparation beforehand, setting your price in between, because you might be selling your yarn X, Y, and Z, but now you need an in-between price. You need to decide if you're going to accept, pay right up in front
Or
because
terms. Yeah, like a 30,
terms.
right. 30-day. Yeah.
And then so you need to sort of sit down and make almost a business plan for that show.
Oh, interesting. That's a neat suggestion. Yeah, just
Yeah,
for that specific
that's
event. Yeah.
and target what you want to achieve. There's so many people that have different. Some people say it's a great show. Like afterwards, it's also you don't know how you did, right? And so you hear other people, and over the years, I have decided if you have talked to one person and it was a big order and you clicked, that might go a long way. If you talk, it doesn't necessarily mean all the orders. My big thing is I do H&H cologne, and in the past, necessarily you didn't write a whole bunch of orders at the moment. That consumer is very different. They want to see you're going to be there. You're going to be there another year, the repetition. Also, all of a sudden, right before September, you're getting an email placing an order because they thought about it. So there's also that store owner. So a lot of things when you're at the show, follow up. So get people's email addresses, their store name, business card, whatever, some form that you're going to communicate with them after. Have a telephone conversation, have a Zoom with them after. If they didn't, if they did or didn't place an order, you need to be that sales rep.
Right.
You have to decide as a small business, are you going to have sales reps? You need to follow up. You need to get them on a mailing list, because some stores don't order. They only order at shows. So the last few years has been a difficult thing. But when we had TNNA, there were some stores that only ordered in January or in June from me. And you needed to get them excited somewhere in between. But I was amazed because they'd come with a folder and said, I saw you post this X, Y, and Z day. Where is it? And they wanted to come see it. So, you're going to be surprised who's who. The other thing is you need to communicate before you go to the show.
Right.
If you have a list of stores you already carry or you want to carry, send out an email to them, cold call them, cold email them and say, hey, I'm taking appointments. I have this product, whatever it is. Um, I never saw the benefit of appointments until after 15 years of doing the show, because I didn't need to do appointments because people just came. And then all of a sudden I had too many people in the booth and you're the only one there, and you
Right.
realize you need to focus on one person. Where and then of course I had at one point stores where they were already placing their order. They didn't even really need me in my booth
Right, right, right.
because they knew us so well. So you can get to that point, but you need to still stay in control. So the important thing is to stay in control. That first show um, sometimes is very overwhelming. You don't know sometimes where someone said you're the it booth to go to. So then every store is like, oh, I heard this in a class. I heard this in the hallway. Someone said for me to come here. And then you've got 10 people wanting, you know, X, Y,
Yeah,
and
you got to
Z.
do some crowd control.
So yeah, you don't know if you're going to be that business. It's sometimes hard. Sometimes you can plan it. But it's a quieter show. It's very business-like. Um, there's all sorts of, remember, it's business. I find often our industry gets a little too much warm and fluffy. I mean, it's great. I love meeting people. I love making friends. Um, but there's a lot of favors because some people in the industry have known each other for 30 years or 40 years.
Like, yeah,
And
yeah.
you sometimes feel the man out, but like it's really important to realize it's business. And when you're talking business, you're doing business and it's about the numbers. Um, and also give a pretty good leeway. Like if you can't give when this is going to be shipped to the person, say, I will go, be honest, go back.
Yeah, don't overpromise, right?
Yeah, say, I've got to go back, see what I placed in orders, and I will place you in a schedule, and you will know within the first week of me returning. I sometimes say 2 weeks because I know by the time I return, you know, you've got everything piled up that
Yeah,
while you weren't there, and then all the stuff that was the orders before because you left. And so you don't get your head turned around. And this is actually pretty good advice because a lot of people are like, oh, yeah, right when I get back to the office. And it's like, no,
that's not realistic.
no.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Well, this has been some good advice that you've shared. Thank you so much. And I think it's a great preview for our webinar. And at that session, Lisa Chima from India Untangled is going to be joining us as the moderator, along with Jennifer Moore from Mona Luna. So I think it's going to be a really good session. And I so appreciate all of the expertise that you're bringing to that too. So that's amazing. And so tell people who are listening where they can go to check out Koigu online and see all the yarn and kind of learn a little more.
so our main website is www.koigu.com. That's Koigu. .com, and we have an Instagram which is Koigu, at Koigu Wool, and of course we also have a Facebook page. But basically, if you go to our website, you can direct yourself from different places, and we pivot from that main website. So,
That's
and
great.
if anyone has any questions, I'm always open. A few years ago, I had another competitor come up to me and they were interested in going to Germany to the trade show there. And I had gone, but they were nervous to ask me because there is this taboo with some people in the industry that don't share. And I was like, sure, I'll tell you, but I'm going to tell you my experience. But sometimes, crossing a border, shipping, I do it differently. I've heard other people do it this way. The thing is that you need to do your homework, and and they were really thankful and really surprised I was open to it. But there's so many different avenues and ways of doing things. Like
Totally.
How I
And what
shipped to
works
the
for
U.
you may not work for another business anyway, but our feeling is a rising tide lifts all boats. And we're all about helping everybody get connected to the information that they need to be able to sort of make their business goals come about. So I love that, spirit of generosity. That's definitely what I'm about and what Craft Industry Alliance is all about. So I think that's fabulous. Really good.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Taiyu, for coming and sharing about Koigu's journey. And this has been terrific. And thank you for everybody who joined us today for this member spotlight. Bye.
Bye.